just talking to the children, although I love talking to the children. Does anybody have a favourite book? Favourite book? David, do you have a favourite book? Can you say that again? Diary of a... It's a good book. You like it. Amelia, what do you got your hand up for? You'll have to shout, my dear, I'm deaf. One moment. There's people in Australia, can't hear you at the moment.
It's a Tom James book, and it's called Absolutely Fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic. What a lovely book. Anybody else got a favourite book? Oh, Rose, what's your favourite book, darling? Wait, here we go. Nice and loud. What is it?
Just Go.
Just Go or Just Doe?
Just Go.
Just Doe. It's a good book, is it? You like reading it? Anybody got Oh, Betty, how could I forget you? What's your favourite book, Betty?
Wonder.
Wonder. That's lovely. Do I see another hand over here? Juliana.
The Alchemist.
The Alchemist. That sounds a bit dodgy to me. Yes, Abraham. No, sorry, no.
Matilda.
Matilda. Okay, you've heard of Matilda. Levi.
How to Train a Dragon.
How to slay a dragon. How to train a dragon. Very good. Anybody got a favourite television programme? Sorry, did somebody say something? Hang on. Coronation Street. What's yours, Jerry? Coronation Street, same as yours. Okay. Anybody else a favourite television programme? Paul?
The Chosen.
The Chosen. Anybody watching that? Hilary is. What about favourite film? Favourite film? Now, I'll tell you what, I know one person's favourite film. It's Lee's. Now, I'm going to tell you what it is and see if I'm right. It's You've Got Mail.
That's one of them, yeah.
Oh, one of them. Well, that's what you said about 2 years ago.
That's my favourite
Romance film. That's Golden Alex. You got another one? Film? Yeah?
Despicable Me 3. Despicable Me 3.
Despicable
Me 3.
Me 3. Oh, Despicable Me, number 3, yeah? David?
Home Alone.
Home Alone. Oh, Amelia?
The Babysitter's Club.
The Babysitter's Club. You see, I don't know. Carew. Is it English?
Narnia.
Narnia. Tales of Narnia. Oh, John. Okay.
One Foot in the Grave.
One Foot in the Grave. Is that a statement of fact, or is that a thing you watch? Have you got one?
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Wow. Yeah, what a film. Now, you might say, why am I asking those questions? Well, we get used to being able to read books, watch television, watch films, and don't you find yourself getting involved in it? Have you ever cried at a film? Have you ever been scared by a film? And yet it's only a film, and yet it affects your emotions. Now, in the time of Jesus, they didn't have any of that. What they did have are good storytellers. And a good storyteller was very popular because it was a big means of entertainment. So storytelling, when Jesus was around, was a bit different. Oh, Charlie, haven't seen you for a while. What are you doing around here? Hello, Fred. I thought I'd come round here because I've heard about this bloke called Jesus who's a great storyteller. And I've come to hear one of his stories. Well, I think you've come to the right place, Charlie, because I've been listening to Jesus for quite a few weeks now, and he certainly tells a good story. I think he'll be telling one later in a minute, but yeah, let's hang around. Mind you, the other day, when he'd finished telling the story, you'll never guess what happened. He gave us a fish supper. You know, it was the sweetest fish I've ever tasted, fresh out of the sea. And the bread, well, just come out of the oven. Well, that sounds a great idea. Let's hope we get a good meal tonight, shall we? Actually, I think Jesus is about to start.
The parable of the lost son. There was a man who had 2 sons.
I do like a story about families. It's always nice to hear about families. What do you think, Charlie? Well, Fred, I agree with you. And it sounds like a good story, because a man with 2 sons, that's a great situation. He said, do you know George down near Jericho? He's got a big farm. Yeah, I've seen him. He's rich, isn't he? He's wealthy. He's got a massive farm. Got thousands of cattle and sheep and all the sort of crops. It's wonderful. Yeah, do you know him, Fred? Not well. I know of him. Well, I know him pretty well. And those 2 boys are wonderful. They look after him. You know, everything he demands they do. Every time he tells them to do something, they do it. They're brilliant. They've helped him work that to great wealth.
The younger one said to his father, "Father, give me my share of the estate."
Well, this don't start very well, does it? I thought it'd be 2 nice sons like George down at Jericho. What do you think, Fred? Well, sometimes kids aren't easy, are they? Perhaps this one has a different view of life and wants to do his own thing.
So the father divided his property between them.
Well, now that's ridiculous. Why would he do a thing like that? What do you think he should have done, Charlie? Well, Fred, I should have told him where to get off. I'd have told him to get back in the field and do a bit more work. Well, it looks like this father's a bit different from George down in Jericho, hey? I wonder what goes on.
Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had and set off for a distant country.
Told you another idea of what he could do with the money? Yeah, but it's still downright rude, isn't it? Doing that to your father and then taking all your wealth and clearing off. There's no respect for his father. You know, the Bible tells us to honour our mother and father, and this boy didn't. I'm not very happy with this story. It seems to be going the wrong way for me. Well, let's find out, because most of these stories that Jesus tells have got a little twist in them.
And there he squandered his wealth in wild living.
So you thought you had better ideas of what to do with it, did you? You thought he might come back a wealthy man. Well, I was rather hoping the story would have a happy ending, where he comes back having turned his small fortune into a big fortune. I didn't quite expect him to start mucking about with people in strange lands. Yeah, now he's given up being Jewish, really, hasn't he? Because he's now joined up with all these other people with their different religions and their different fun and games. What a waster.
After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in the whole country, and he began to be in need.
There is a saying, isn't there, Charlie? As you reap, so shall you reap. Well, we're not surprised, are we, Fred? I mean, you go out wasting your money, all those lovely friends you made, they all had lots of fun spending your money for you. And how does it end up? You end up in poverty.
So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed pigs.
Pigs, Charlie, pigs. Isn't there something in the Bible about pigs? Yeah, you're right there, Fred. You really ought to read your Bible more often, I have to say. But yeah, it says that we shouldn't eat pigs, and therefore we shouldn't be near the pigs. They're filthy animals. They grubble around in the mud, are filthy and mucky and horrible. And that's the way he's living. Seems as though he's not really a Jewish boy anymore, is it? I think he's given up everything that he ever knew and valued. I don't see how this story's going to end very well, though. Still, we might get a good meal at the end of it.
He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything.
So what happened to all those friends he made when he had lots of money? Well, there's a moral there, Fred, isn't there? If you've only got friends for what you've got and what you can give, they're not going to last with you when you need help. So here we are, this Jewish boy told his father he didn't wish he was dead and cleared off, wasted all his money, and now what's he doing is at the pits, absolute pits, of feeding pigs, living in squalor, starving. Shows what happens when you don't listen to your father.
When he came to his senses, he said, "How many of my father's hired men have food to spare, and here I am starving to death?"
What does it take to come to your senses? Starvation, poverty, loneliness. It takes all those things before you can get to your senses and say, I need to turn round. What do you think the father's going to do, Charles? What do you think is going to happen? Well, I know what I'd do if I was a father, but we'll come to that a bit later.
"I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired men." So he got up and went to his father.
Well, it seems a good idea, doesn't it, Charlie? I mean, it's the only way he can go. He's got no other option. Well, I don't see that works. I mean, why should his father have him back? I wonder what happens as he walks and makes his way to his father. Let's find out.
But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him.
Right, now there's going to be trouble. What's the father going to do? He's seen him coming. Well, Charlie, what do you think? You seem to have an idea of all these things. Well, if it was me, I'd give him a good idea, turn him round and kick him off the land. After what's he done? He's said he didn't want to live with me. He wanted me to die. He's taken all my money and wasted it, and then thinks he can come back here. Sounds a bit harsh, Charlie. Well, that's the way I look at it.
And was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him.
You know, Charlie, while we were singing that song, this is a lovely song, isn't it? Well, I think the tune's good, but I think the words are a bit mucky, aren't they? I mean, what's all this with Abba Father? Who would call their father Daddy? What do you call your father then, Charlie? I call him Sir. I wouldn't call him anything else. If I did, I'd get a clip round the ear. Well, my father's sort of okay, but there are times when I'd really like my father to come and put his arms around me and tell me he loves me, so that I could actually then tell him I love him. I do worry about you at times, Fred.
The son said to him, "Father, I have sinned against heaven and you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son."
Well, this sounds a lovely father, doesn't it? After all that, he's put his arms around him and wants to bring him back into the family. Well, I think it shows a bit of weakness myself. He should stand up. What example does he give to other people when he allows children to do that? Well, I have to say, Charlie, I got a bit moved by that. I thought that was quite nice. I thought that was lovely that the father should come running to meet him. Yeah, and I thought he was only there to tell him to clear off.
But the father said to his servants, "Quick, Bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." So they began to celebrate.
Well, so it's going to have a happy ending then, isn't it, Charlie, eh? They're going to have a celebration, a party. What a wonderful father to do that for a son that's done anything for him. I think that's lovely. Well, I think it's ridiculous. Or now he's even killing the fatted calf. I wonder what he was keeping that for, some big celebration, and now he's going to use it just to celebrate this boy coming back. I wonder what the older brother's doing.
Meanwhile, the oldest son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked him what was going on. "Your brother has come," he replied, "and your father has killed the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound."
Oh, it seems a shame that he can't go in and join in the party, doesn't it? Seems a shame he can't sort of see things the way his father does. Well, I must admit, I do sympathise with him. I mean, look what's happened. He's been working for his father, and he's got nothing out of it, and yet this boy gets everything when he comes back. He seems a strange father, not the one I would know, I must admit.
The older brother became angry and refused to go in.
And I don't blame him. I wouldn't go in either. Going in and joining with that boy that was full of muck and dirt and now got the best robe on, eating that fatted calf. No, I'm in sympathy with him. Well, I think you might be missing out on the joy of this, Charlie. Maybe Fred, but we all see things differently.
So his father came out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, "Look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a goat that I could celebrate with my friends."
Well, I agree with the older brother. That sounds fair. I think that's a good reaction. What occurred to me, though, Charlie, was the son always saw himself as slaving for the father and obeying the father. He didn't seem to know he was doing it out of love. He was doing it out of duty. I've got the right hat on, yeah. Well, that's not how I see it, I'm afraid. I think he's right. He should refuse to go in and have nothing to do with his brother.
"But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property, comes home, you kill the fattened calf for him." "My son," the father said, "you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate because this brother of yours was dead and is alive, was lost and is found."
See there, Charlie, the father did love the older brother. He always in his thoughts, he always loved him, so he should have understood that his father loved him regardless of everything. Well, I'm sorry, but it's not a father that I would recognise. This is not the way things work in life, and I just don't understand. I don't think it's a very good story at all. Well, Charlie, while I've been listening to this, I've got a feeling that this is not just a story. It's not just a story about a father, but it's somebody that Jesus knows. I think Jesus knows this father, and he's a real father. Whether he knows him or not, I'm not too interested in it. I'm going to go down and see George in Jericho and tell him about this rubbish story. Doesn't look as though we're going to get any fish and chips tonight. I'm off. You coming? No thanks, Charlie. I think I'm going to spend a bit more time with Jesus. Find out some of these stories. I'm even going to ask him if he knows who the Father is and whether it's a father I might get to know. So that's the story, seen from the eyes of two guys in the audience. I want to leave you with two questions to ask yourself. Now, it's going to be a busy day, there'll be lots going on after this service, and I don't expect you to remember a word of it. But when you get to bed tonight and wait for sleep to come, you might think of two questions. One was, are you more like Charlie or are you more like Fred? Both started in the same place, but they ended up quite different places as a result of Jesus' story. And the other question is, where are you in the story? Are you at that point, you may be here this morning, but you still may not say, I do not believe there is a God. And anyway, I want to go and live my life my way. And you may have done that, and life might be going perfectly for you. Everything falling in place just as you want. Or it may be you've gone your own way, and you're now in a position where life's not turned out the way you wanted, and you're in a state of despair, of not knowing where to turn. Or you may have come from that and said, I need to follow the Father. I need to go back and find the Father and seek his will for me, seek his love for me, to hold me in his arms and hold me fast. Maybe you're in the party. You're in the party with the fattened calf, celebrating because people are coming to Jesus. People are coming to faith. And it's exciting, and you want to join in with that celebration. Or maybe you're like the older brother. Been loyal for many years, all your life perhaps. Have done everything you think God wants of you. But you just find it difficult to come to terms with the way that people are being brought into faith. People that you would find it difficult to relate to. Now, the interesting thing, wherever you are in that story, and probably most of us are somewhere in that story, is God loves you wherever you are. He loved his son at the beginning. He loved his son when he was in poverty because he was looking for him. He loved the older brother. So wherever you are in the story, don't be ashamed, but rejoice that your Father loves you.